Hello candidates, Mr. Kiyingi here once again with another lesson. This is lesson 9. Remember, I told you, you have to be very careful about the numbering of these lessons, otherwise you'll mix up the work. So this is lesson 9. Last time we were talking about, I told you I'm going to teach the people of Africa, but I'll not teach the whole Africa as a whole, I'll teach region by region. And we finished North Africa where we talked about Arabs. I reminded you everything about Arabs. Now I'm moving to East Africa, the people found in East Africa. The topic is the people. So the people, we talk about the ethnic groups and their tribes. So in East Africa, we are going to concentrate on Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan. Once in a while, we can also go to Ethiopia. The Horn of Africa is part of the bigger Eastern Africa. So we are learning about which people are found in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan. Where necessary, we go to the Horn of Africa. Now, in East Africa, in those countries I've mentioned, it is believed that the first people to leave the original inhabitants were the Bushmen. So if you are asked a question, who are the original inhabitants of East Africa? The Bushmen. But when other people came and migrated and found them in East Africa, they pushed them away. Their descendants now live in the forests of Congo. Those short people you hear who are in the forests of Congo. When I'm teaching you about the people found in Central Africa, we shall talk about the people in those Central African forests in DRC, the Pygmies. Some of them are the descendants of the Bushmen. So in East Africa, which ethnic groups do we have there? We have the Bantu, we have the Nilotes, we have the Hamites, who are called the Cushites. We have the Arabs. When you go to the East African coast, Arabs are there. And these Arabs now, I'm not going to teach them, since we discussed them at length when I was teaching North Africa. Arabs belong to a bigger group of people called the Semites. We have Indians in East Africa who came and remained there. They are part of us. Then we have a small group of people in Uganda known as the Sudanic people. There are some tribes in West Nile there. They form their own small group called the Sudanic people. We shall discuss them. So without wasting time, I've decided to first discuss the Nilotes. This work is taught in P6, this work is taught in P5, but I repeat it intentionally to make sure that people still remember. The Nilotes. This is a group of people which came to East Africa originating from areas along the Nile. So the word Nilotes comes from Nile. They came from along the Nile, both in Sudan and Ethiopia. Those people used to live along the Nile. So from that we get Nilotes. So they migrated into East Africa. We shall see their migration. We shall see the roots, how they came into East Africa. And they were cattle keepers. But when they reached East Africa, most of them today are mixed farmers. They are no longer cattle keepers or pastoralists. And that there's a very common question they ask from that point. Very, very common. I wish you were at school. I would now be asking you to tell me P6 and P5. Give 2 reasons why the Nilotes, some Nilotes, are now mixed farmers. They are no longer cattle keepers. But since I'm not with you, I'll remind you. They were cattle keepers, now they are mixed farming. One is that they settled in areas with fertile soils. They came to East Africa where there is fertile soil, which enabled them to become mixed farmers. They settled in areas with fertile soils. 2, when they settled in East Africa, they settled near the Bantu who were farmers. So the second reason why the Nilotes changed to mixed farming was that they learned farming from their Bantu neighbors. They settled near the Bantu who taught them farming. So I've given 2 reasons for why the Nilotes are no longer cattle keepers, but now mixed farmers. 1, they settled in areas which have fertile soils, which supports farming. 2, they learned farming from the Bantu. They settled near the Bantu who taught them farming. They settled near the Bantu who taught them farming. Now, the Nilotes in East Africa are divided into 3 groups. We have the River Lake Nilotes, we have the Plain Nilotes or the Nilohamites, then we have the Highland Nilotes. Each of these groups is named according to where it settled. When they came to East Africa, where they settled, so you find the River Lake Nilotes are those who settled around rivers and lakes. The Plain Nilotes are those who settled in the plains. A plain is a flat land. The Highland Nilotes are those who settled on highlands. So each group, as we are studying, as we draw the maps and you see where they are found, indeed you prove that the River Lake Nilotes live around lakes and rivers. The Plain Nilotes are in the plains. The Highland Nilotes are in the highlands. So, very quick, I'll begin with the River Lake Nilotes. The River Lake Nilotes, we have them in Uganda and in Kenya. And these ones came from Sudan. In Sudan, there is an area called Bahel Gazelle. They came from Bahel Gazelle in Sudan. And in Uganda, we call them the Nilotics. There's a difference between Nilotes is the general group of all those people, but there's that special group of the River Lake, we call them the Nilotics. Some people even call them the Luo, because they speak their language, they speak a common language called Luo. So the River Lake Nilotes or the Nilotics or the Luo are the ones who came from Bahel Gazelle. And in Uganda, this is how they migrated into Uganda, this map here. This arrow here shows the River Lake Nilotes coming from Sudan, Bahel Gazelle, and in Uganda they settled at this place, Pubungu. Then at Pubungu, they dispersed. To disperse means to go into different directions. If you remember from your P5, this is where the 2 brothers, Gipiri and Labong, got a misunderstanding and they split, they separated. And the group which stayed at Pubungu in West Nile, this area of Uganda is called West Nile. Arua, Ajumani, Moyo, Koboko, Yumbe, that is West Nile. There's a group which stayed there. Remember, I've said the story of Gipiri and Labong, those 2 brothers. I don't have time to go through it now, but one of them, they got a misunderstanding, those 2 brothers, and one of the brothers decided to leave the area. So the one who stayed, I think it is the one who stayed, his people, the people who stayed. Today, those are the people we know as the Alur. The Alur is a tribe in Uganda which belongs to the River Lake Nilotes, which belongs to the Nilotics, which belongs to the Luo speakers, and it is found in West Nile. Alur people. Then those who migrated are the ones who became the Acholi. I have some Acholis in my class. I'm very sure Odong, my friend Odong, must be from this tribe. So now Odong, where you are at home, you are knowing how your tribe came out to be. The Acholi. Then another group migrated into eastern Uganda in Tororo district at the border of Uganda and Kenya. Those are the ones we call the Japadola. The Japadola have another name. They are also known as the Badama. Then another group entered Kenya and settled around these shores of Lake Victoria in Kenya. Those are the Jaluo. One thing I should tell you is that the Jaluo, the Japadola, the Acholi, the Alur can understand each other when they speak. That's why we are calling them the Luo speakers. So the tribes under the River Lake Nilotes or the Nilotics, those who came from Bahel Gazelle, first settled at Pubungu and separated because of Gipiri and Labongo's problems. We have the Acholi, we have the Alur who are found in West Nile, we have the Japadola or Badama in Tororo, we have the Dinka and the Newell of South Sudan, they also belong to this group, then the Jaluo of Kenya. So in summary, remember I told you these lessons are in small bits so that they can fit on the WhatsApp which we send to your parents. So I make them brief to make them fit within what we can send. So in this bit, I've talked about the Nilotes, whom I've told you are divided into 3 groups: the river lake Nilotes, those who settled around rivers and lakes; the plain Nilotes or Nilohamites, who settled on the plains; the highland Nilotes, who settled in highlands. The river lake are the ones in Uganda who came from Bahel Gazelle in Sudan, settled at Pubungu in West Nile, separated because of Gipira and Labongo's problems. And which tribes are those? The Alur in West Nile, the Acholi, the Japadola Obadama in Tororo, the Jaluo of Kenya around Lake Victoria, the Dinka of South Sudan, the Nuer. That is the river lake Nilotes. As the practice is, each lesson we must have an exercise at the end, and the exercise is here. Why did some Nilotic tribes change from pastoralism to mixed farming? I've emphasized those 2 reasons. I've said they settled in areas with fertile soils. They settled near the Bantu, who taught them farming. Then secondly, which group of Nilotes came to Uganda? From Bahel Gazelle. Remember, among the 3 groups of the Nilotes, which one came from Bahel Gazelle? In the next video, I will explain the other groups, the plain Nilotes, the highland Nilotes. Thank you very much.